travel retail has become synonymous with these super premium whiskies.
Yes.
Can you just chat us through some of your latest launches that you're focusing on?
Okay, well, Whyte Mackay over the years has produced many different unique styles, particularly our emphasis on single malts, but not just any single malts. We've got the Dalmore and the Jura, and we're actually aging them far more now than ever before. We started the launching way back in 2006. So Constellation Collection is a classic example which we introduced to World Travel on last year, the 1st of May, and that consists of 21 bottles. These whiskies are natural strength, natural colour, but they're coming in at a cost of around about £170,000 for one collection. It's unique, but what you've got to remember is people are travelling all around the world, and there is money out there, not just money, a lot of money, and this collection with our other whiskies, the Tourist Mara from Jura, we've got the Dalmore Valor, which is the fastest growing seller in Dubai, in fact, at the present moment.
When you're crafting the whiskies, particularly sort of ones destined for the travel retail market, how important is that premium high-end consumer in your mind when you're, bringing them together, looking at the actual liquid you're trying to create?
Every liquid that I produce in the company, whether it be Dalmore, Jura, or even Whyte Mackay, but particularly Dalmore, I'm always thinking of something unique, something exclusive, something that the consumer can go to the travel retail and not see any other places. So a good example would be our Dalmore 25 years old, and that has just been launched here in Cannes, and that is unique in every way because we matured it in American white oak, and then we put it into a different style of sherry, a Fino sweet sherry, 25 years old, and then we finish it off in an aged tawny port. A real aging process, but giving the consumer something unique to taste and something to really enjoy. Remember, the consumer that can travel is becoming much more discerning, and he's demanding far more. So I've got to make it something more exciting and with a story as well.
To add in here, sort of ask what your opinion is on how necessary age statements are in travel retail.
Well, you've got to remember age statements do play a part. But of course, stocks have to be manipulated. This is when I get a little bit upset, because just because you see a product without an age, that is a reflection of my job. That's my prime objective, is to produce a quality, and the packaging will reflect that. So that too is important, but I must assure the consumer, even if he doesn't see an age, I can assure you anything coming from our distillery, whether it be Jura or Dalmore, is of unique quality.
You find it difficult to get these interesting casks? You mentioned sort of export casks earlier.
Getting casks today is always very difficult, but I have to search around the world for unique casks, something that will produce different styles of whiskies, but not always will suit our whiskies. We have as many as 20 to 30, even to 40 different varieties of woods, and that will take effect over 6 months to even 10 years to see the development of that. But once we get something unique, I then can create a story and give it to the marketing people, and that makes it unique, and that makes it much more attractive to the consumer. But what I enjoy most of all is to see a particular style of wood that I've created, whether it be Madeira, port or Masala, and then I mature my Dalmore in it or the Jura in it. I wait and see, I test it every few months, and then suddenly it can be transformed into something totally unique. And when you smell it, it just evolves and it excites you. And I hope that excitement is reflected in the consumer as well.
In travel retail, blends are obviously a huge part of the market. They're a real staple. But there's often this consumer perception that they're somehow lesser than single malts. How much does that frustrate you as a master blender? And should we be doing more as an industry to communicate the craft behind making these whiskies?
It's a very, very good question. Must never forget, blended whiskey still accounts for 92% of the whiskey market. The other 8%, 9% is for single malts. We must never forget blended whiskies, because it allows the blender to create the style of his blend and then maintain the consistency using the malts. And therefore it should be revered in exactly the same way. But what I want to see more in the future is to see these age blends coming in, 12, 30, even 40, and even a 50-year-old blend, because it can excite the consumer in exactly the same way as a single malt.
It just completely turned the market on its head as well, because you're suddenly finding these super premium products, and it's like, hang on a minute, that's a blend. I thought as a single malt consumer I had ruled those out, and all of a sudden you've got these amazing new products.
Well, what we've also got to do is we've got to excite the consumer, as I keep saying, but we must do it with the packaging as well. If it means upgrading the packaging to draw them in, so much the better. But they should be revered in exactly the same way.
There's sort of been there's talk of a surge or a resurgence, if you like, of grain whiskies and single grain whiskies on the market, and we've seen a handful of launches come out of other whisky companies. Is the single grain category something that you're likely to look at in the future?
Well, interesting enough, we actually produced a single grain for a celebration, the 50 years of Invergordon Distillery, and in fact that not only won a gold medal, it went on to win a trophy, but that was only a very limited edition. We have got aged grains. It's something that we're thinking about, but we're really concentrating on our single malts, because what you have to do, grain whiskey to the consumer is something different. And it's been out for many years. We go back, or way back in the 60s when Cameron Brigg was introduced, and we had our own Invergordon, but it was quite slow. So we've got to be sort of enticing the consumer and giving them the assurance. And an age statement, something like 25 or 30 years old, could possibly do that. But we have to wait and see for that one.
What big plans have you got for Whyte Mackay, Jura and the Dalmore over the next 6 to 12 months?
Well, as you can well imagine, we've got a lot of cask rejuvenations programs going on. We've got a lot of different styles of wines, champagnes, we've got even sparkling wines that we're not releasing yet. So these are in the portfolio that will be put out, but what we mustn't do is just drench and flood the market every year. We must do it really in a sort of regimental way that we entice the consumer in. So I can assure you we've got lots in the pipeline. You'll just have to wait and see.